What's up, YouTube? Welcome back. Got another great episode for you guys. Sorry, been gone for a while. Had a bit of a family emergency, but back now. Great to see you guys. Great to be back recording, and let's get into it. As always, this is all for entertainment purposes only. Don't believe anything that I say. Don't believe anything that you see on these videos. Entertainment purposes only, but do your research. Never believe anything. Do your own research. Come to your own conclusions. Let's get into it.
We all know the Earth is actually... Okay, no, we're not doing that. What? Yeah, we're doing this? For real? Why do I have to be that guy? What is beyond the ice wall of Antarctica? Disclaimer, obviously a theory and should be considered for entertainment purposes only. Yes, this is the ridiculous Earth plane theory, or at least a part of it. Now, personally, I think this map is complete bullcrap. There's just countless evidence that goes against it. Before ever even considering a theory, you always need to look for some sort of tangible proof. And these mysterious blue shards reported in a leak from Antarctic research labs are a little more revealing. They were leaked by this helicopter engineer who was contracted to work at McMurdo Station in Antarctica from 1997 to the year 2000. And if you don't know, McMurdo Station is usually where shit goes down. So this engineer, let's call him Jimmy Boy, claimed that he befriended a few of the scientists doing research there in 1998. The scientists told him that they had two types of ice they worked with down there. There was this ice that they drilled cores out of boreholes in the ground that was cold to the touch, usually clear or some shade of white, and melted into water. Almost all of Antarctica is covered with this type of ice, which is just normal ice. Clearly, this wasn't their main focus of research. The only times they ever actively study this ice is when film crews from like National Geographic came down to film a documentary. The other 95% of the time, they studied the forbidden sky ice, totally different than the ice that we're used to. Jimmy wasn't allowed in the labs where they studied sky ice because it was, you know, super duper top secret. But one time, one of the scientists he got close with showed him a piece of the ice, and it was unlike any other matter he's ever seen on Earth. First of all, you couldn't touch it with your bare hands and had to wear your heavy-duty South Pole exploration gloves when holding it because of how cold it was. Secondly, as you can tell, it was this solid deep blue color, allegedly composed mainly of oxygen, and is why they called it sky ice. And oh man, I haven't even scratched the surface of how deep this goes. Oxygen has a freezing point of about negative 218 degrees Celsius, which is when it turns into a solid, so you'd practically get frostbite just by looking at it. Jimmy held it for a bit with his gloves, of course, noting that it was lighter than regular ice, almost like he could have thrown it up in the air and it would have floated back down. It was also slightly flexible and completely opaque, so you couldn't see through it at all. And it didn't even melt into water when it got warm, but just continually shrank until it ceased to exist, likely turning directly into oxygen gas, which is why they had to study it in Antarctica. They couldn't even transport it to anywhere in the world before it disappeared. The Russians knew about this too, and it's part of the reason they all have research stations down there. After 15 minutes or so, the sky ice was almost completely gone, and Jimmy asks his research friend where they even get this ice from. And this is where it gets interesting, because to that, the scientist replied, they get it from the wall. According to him, if you go deep enough, hundreds of kilometers inland from the coast, you'll run into a huge wall in Antarctica that contains this sky ice, the biggest natural structure in the world. This sounds a lot like the infamous ice wall from the pancake Earth theory, which states there's a giant wall of ice that surrounds our entire planet, and there's even more land beyond this wall if you somehow manage to get past it, including the legendary lands of Atlantis, Mu, the Garden of Eden, and even Asgard. Obviously just an incredible stretch of a theory, but interesting to see the ice wall mentioned in a scientific setting here. Now, buckle in, cause this is where it actually gets insane, in case you felt like it wasn't already. The US has known about this sky ice for decades, and back in the 60s, they actually tried boring a tunnel through the ice wall. They built a special boring machine made for the super cold temperatures of the sky ice wall and started digging. For the first 2 miles or so, the floor was solid rock, but after that, even the ground under them became the bright blue sky ice, until they got about 5 to 10 miles deep after an entire year of boring, which is pretty damn far and still no sight of the other side. When they realized the tunnel was shrinking and eventually got so small that they could barely even move their machine anymore. Turns out sky ice, when exposed to warmer temperatures, just dissipates into thin air, but in colder temperatures, like inside the tunnel, it regenerates itself. Eventually, the tunnel got so tight it became too difficult to continue boring, so they scrapped the project, ditched the machine, and after many decades, the hole they dug into the wall has now been completely sealed. Now, some people say this sky ice wall sounds almost exactly like what would be called the dome or the firmament in the horizontal Earth, or at least fragments of it, and even the most popular book in the world had something to say about it. Ezekiel 126 reads, "And above the firmament that was over their heads was the likeness of a throne, as the appearance of a sapphire stone." Now, whether you believe in the Bible or not, we can all agree it is by definition a historic text. Text that was written sometime in history. Firmament over their heads. Appearance of a sapphire stone. I mean, I really don't want to believe this is true, and who knows, maybe this entire Sky Ice Antarctica story is just completely made up, but as always, what if?
That's pretty interesting. What do you guys think about that? That sky ice. I've never heard of that before, but that gives some credence to some of the theories out there. What do you guys think?
When you look at this side-by-side comparison throughout the bill, it reads like a how-to guide in historical whitewashing. Are you aware that this new version of the bill from the Senate removes the writings of Frederick Douglass?
I am.
Are you aware that this new version of the bill from the Senate removes the writings of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.?
Yes.
Are you aware that this new version of the bill from the Senate removes the history of Native Americans?
The way the bill is laid out,
that's a yes or no question.
Because we were very clear
are you
that
aware
we could not
this
be
new version of the
conclusive
bill
about every single
removes the
document out
history
there that
of
we
Native
could.
Americans?
I'm going to give you an answer. You're not. This isn't a trial. I'm going to give you an answer.
Okay, I'm ready for the answer.
The way it's set out is so that a teacher can go to different documents in different authors by which to teach from. It's by no means meant to be a conclusive list.
Let me just ask you one more time. Are you aware that this new version of the bill from the Senate removes the history of Native Americans? It's on page 3 of the side-by-side if you don't have it in front of you.
I believe you.
Okay. Are you aware that this new version of the bill removes mentions of Cesar Chavez?
Yes.
Are you aware that this new version of the bill removes mentions of Susan B. Anthony?
Yes, I am.
Yet the new version of the bill from the Senate, this is not the bill we all passed as a House, but the Senate's version, it still includes the writings of Alexis de Tocqueville, and he's not even an American. Could that be because he's a white man?
That's something you always got to look out for. They are always trying to erase history, trying to create this agenda, this indoctrination for everyone. So they erase history, they alter history, they do it so easily and so ruthlessly that most people, don't even know their own history, unfortunately. That's a very tragic and deplorable act.
This is a crazy story. Have you ever heard about Amy Eskridge? She was a NASA engineer. People are speculating online that she was assassinated because she blew the whistle on anti-gravity technology and time travelers from the future. It's crazy shit, man.
Was this a video you're going to show me?
They are you. They are me. They're from here, from the future. P47 is present plus 47,000 years. P52 is present plus 52,000 years. And basically there's a calamity, right? So there's like a apocalypse scenario in the near future. It wipes out most of like everything, man. And there's the ones that go underground and survive, right? And then there's the ones that somehow stay on the surface and miraculously don't die.
So you're telling me that this chick made that video in 2022 and was suicided?
Look, here's another video to give you a little bit more context.
Let me tell you, I'm in Huntsville, Alabama. I know I've said that several times. We're the Rocket City. We're the biggest deal you've never heard of. Von Braun was here and we won the space race. We developed the Saturn V here. We built the Saturn V here. We won the space race here in Alabama, whether you've heard of it or not. And I can tell you for a fact, so many prototypes. So many prototypes. Only prototype built like this in the world. You turn it on the first time, it works exactly like you thought it would the first time. Great data. You apply for more funding to test it more thoroughly, they cancel it. It goes to NASA divestment. It goes to the auction block. People bid on it, and literally scrap metal vendors win the bid and melt it down for scrap metal and sell it. We could be crazy far. We could be on the moons of Jupiter. We could be exploring Pluto if we had spent money differently. I can tell you the names of so many NASA scientists that are depressed and they want to kill themselves because they have built prototype after prototype after prototype in Huntsville, Alabama. First in the world, never before seen, worked the first time you turned it on exactly like you thought. It was canceled and melted down for scrap metal.
And I wouldn't put it past that they have tried to obfuscate advancements in technology for their own agenda, right? They kind of want like, their own timeline of technological progression to space, you would assume, right?
I mean, if you looked into it and she was actually a employee at NASA and she died and she was saying all that, I mean, that's definitely suspicious.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think about that? This is the one I wanted to comment on. So I would never wanted to put this out there, but I'm in the same place she is. And where I worked at NASA is the same. If she worked at the same place I worked, there's only one NASA center here, Marshall Space Flight Center. It's where I work. Been to every NASA site within the continental U.S. at least 2 or 3 times, except JPL, which is Jet Propulsion Laboratories, because it's not a space flight center out in California. I even commented on this. I'm not buying what she's saying. None of that makes sense. Scrap metal, you can't go into a government auction, if you don't have government credentials. So you can't just go like as a scrap metal yard. That's not how any of that works. None of that works that way. Yeah, Werner von Braun is here, and you guys know I'm from Germany, so I had family that worked with him, back in World War II, and I had family that were scientists that came here and worked with him, and now I'm here and worked at the same place. I just don't believe what she's saying. She's gotta come with more information, because for one, that's not what we do here. Like, what she's talking about is not what we do at this one. So, I mean, we used to do a lot of that stuff back in the day, but that's not the main thing we do here. So, I don't know. That I'm just not buying it. I commented on it. But there's also compartmentalization at NASA. I've said this before. So, you won't even know what the people, in the next cube to you. You don't know what they're working on. You're all on different classified projects. They may know your role, like you may be a programmer, you may be an engineer like I was, but you don't know specifically what programs people are working on, and you don't talk about it. It's compartmentalization. But what she's talking about, I'm just not buying, because I've never seen any of that there. I've been all over. I've been to Cape Canaveral, many times, Kennedy Space Center. I've been to Gator Lake. I've been to the vehicular assembly building where the shuttle goes in and out, the crawler that moves 1 mile an hour. I've sat on that. I've been all through NASA. So I'm just not buying that. I don't know. She'd have to come up with more evidence than I can tell you so many NASA scientists that are depressed. Huntsville has a lot of smart people. We make shit go fast, blow up, and shit like that just for fun, It's what we do. We race cars, we blow shit up, we shoot guns, we make shit go fast. This town is full of engineers, so there's tons of smart people at NASA, there's tons of dumb people at NASA, but the type of work she's talking about, I personally never saw going on here. That's not what Marshall Space Flight Center does. This isn't like, ground zero for prototypes like what she was talking about. It used to be back in the day, like for the Saturn V and all that stuff. For those rockets, yeah, it definitely used to be. We have the big museum for all of that stuff, but that's not what we do here now. So, and it's been a long time since that's been done. That's just my 2 cents on it.
It was 2020 when we realized, like, things are fucked. Food is fucked, medicine's fucked, the system is just fucked. I mean, have you noticed since, like, 2020, probably earlier, that things aren't lining up right. Like, some shit is just not right. So we knew we wanted to get out of the suburbs. We wanted to grow our own food and basically start the whole process of beginning like a homestead. We started our own online business. It's not what many people think it is. Saved up a bunch of money, bought our own land, and this is where we're at today. And since I've been openly sharing more and more and more about that, I've realized there's a shitload of people who want that freedom. They don't trust our government. They don't trust the system. They don't trust the food as well. Is that you? Because if that is you, let me know below, because I want the algorithm to work where I can find people just like you and I. Because I do. I want to start sharing with people like how you can make money online and getting away from the system and start doing your own thing. Just let me know if that's you.
Yeah. I think it was before that. I've always been a big proponent of all of that stuff before 2020. It was just that 2020 was when people were at home more, they had more idle time, and they were starting to realize, hey, we don't have all of these options anymore because everything's shut down. And now we're realizing that we're at home all the time, and this type of stuff that you're putting in your body is not the type of stuff you should be putting in your body. Talk about this all the time. I always talk about, I don't let my family eat bad foods. We don't do junk food. We don't eat processed foods. I cook. I grow. I cook. Not on his level, but I've always been a big proponent of that, and that's just a part of when you want to get your third eye going, decalcifying your pineal gland, raise your vibrations, and be as one with this shift that we're going through. You've got to cleanse your body, and that's just a hard fact. And I think people just really started to notice that when all of that was going on at the time. That's my 2 cents on that.
I've been trying to go to Easter Island for the last 10 years.
Can't get in?
Not only cannot get in, nobody's going to get in now because somebody went there and lit that place on fire. They burned down the majority of the moai heads. They put some type of a chemical on the moais and lit that on fire, which melted solid stone. How do you get that much fuel, first of all, on the island? It's hard to get there. How do you get the fuel there? And whatever was added to this fuel, or whatever type of fuel it was, who had the approval to bring that kind of chemical through international waters onto that island and then have the time to put it on top of the stone and then to actually light them all on fire? There's no trees on Easter Island. There's nothing to keep the flames going. So somebody manually had to go and burn all these heads. So now with that being destroyed, and my biggest dream was to go.
I wonder if that's actually true, if somebody did that. I'm hearing this from him. I have to do more research on it because I don't know. But we all know what's been going on in all of these countries with the fires everywhere and what's actually causing that, the things that I can't talk about. But I did say that I have one of those things, and if you guys want to see why it doesn't burn blue, let me know in the comments, and if we get enough people, I will show it. I'm wondering if that's what it was versus this drastic version of what he's saying. I used to respect him, but with everything that's going on right now, and with this coming out just days ago, I would be more inclined to believe that it came from up there versus somebody took all of this fuel, got it through international borders, went onto the island that you can barely even get onto, and physically poured this fuel on all of these heads and just completely melted them. These things are massive. 80% of them are in the ground, so you only see, the heads are only like 20% of what they are. So you're talking melting that kind of old stone that's been there, for millennia, thousands of years. So I don't know. What do you guys think? I really don't know on this one. I'll have to look more into it, but his reasoning, his explanation just sounds a bit more outlandish to me.
Hush, little baby, don't you cry. It is just a lullaby. Dreams of rainbows make you stop, and I am here to wake you up. I am here to wake you up.
it's crazy that this is one of the big agendas being pushed right now. You know, allowing satanic groups as a religion in schools. You know, I posted about that in one of my videos. This is a big thing going on now. So I'm sure you guys remember when they took prayer out of the schools, they wouldn't let people pray. But now they're allowing, and look what's gone on since then. And I'm not saying, you know, I'm not pushing any kind of religious agenda. You guys know that. I'm just saying you took prayer, which can help in a multitude of ways, even if it's just affirmations, right? But they took that out of schools, but now they're pushing this agenda to allow children join satanic religious groups, and there's parents that are out there with their children. So after school religious gatherings for the satanic religion, and that's a big thing they're pushing now. It's insane to me. Like it's a good thing that this shift is happening, so we won't be living in that reality anymore. But it's just, I always said it's going to get so much worse before it gets better, and we're in that time now.
You see what the fuck I'm telling you guys? I'm not fucking playing. Look at this orb. It's a gold orb from the NASA space station live fucking feed. Excuse my language, oh my gosh! Look! What the hell's going on? Holy fuck! NASA space station looking out to the stars. Oh my, that's a fucking massive ship. That's a massive fucking spaceship, look! Oh my gosh, there's another one flying up there, I can't even see it. Oh, look at, there's another one. There's whole fucking fleets of them. Look at another one right there. Oh fuck, something's going on. Something's going on, guys, look at that shit. I'm not fucking kidding you. Oh my god, look! Look! Oh, fuck, it stopped. Holy fuck! You guys, what the fuck? Somebody explain this to me right now. This is on the Roku app. A Roku fucking TV. These are the live fucking feeds. These are fucking fleets of aliens. They're staring at fucking space. Oh my gosh, something's going on. Something's going on, guys. I need fucking answers. Stay fucking woke, bitch up pendejos. Tell me what the fuck this is. Look, they're like fucking invisible. I'm sorry, I mean, from outer space. This is space. Look at the NASA International Space Station HD live feed, courtesy of NASA.
That's pretty crazy. That I used to watch that. I was actually offered to get sent to Russia to support the ISS, but that's interesting because whenever anything like that comes through a NASA live feed, they cut the feed. You guys already know this. I know you know this. Most of you that have watched my channel that know this kind of stuff, you know that they cut the feed. So I'm curious as to why this feed never got cut, because I used to watch those same cameras all of the time, and I'd be recording, and the second something got onto the screen, you know, they would cut the feed immediately. So that's strange. It's interesting, but it's strange that they never cut the feed.
The fallen angelic Dracon dragon race from Orion came to Earth 1 million years ago in Atlantis during human seeding 2, and they created a hybrid species by mixing their dragon lizard DNA with the human Atlantean DNA, creating a human dragon lizard-like hominid called the Dracos, and they are the ones that people are usually calling the reptilians. It is these subterranean reptilian Dracos and their Zeta Gray alien friends, the Dracos Zeta Resistance, that have cooperative agreements with our shadow government and military. and are responsible for much of the UFO alien abduction phenomenon and who desire to claim sovereignty over Earth. Dracos are involved in the power elite, financial, pharmaceutical, and banking institutions, promoting war and killing through increasing militarization, poverty, human enslavement, religious violence, and terrorism.
I've heard that many times over. It's just interesting everybody's using AI to create this stuff. I even do it for some of my other channels, but still interesting.
Light workers and empaths, developing your inner spirit, your inner connection, and you are focusing your journey, your polarity on light, because you have free will, and as a spiritual being, because that's what your true nature is, not the body, but the spirit that embodies your body, chooses what it aligns with. Every day you're making that decision, yes? And I welcome all of you to this conversation, to this connection, because this is a group thing, you guys. This is a spiritual awakening happening on Earth, and a lot of us have chosen to follow that lifestyle. And we find this like mind within each other. We agree with these teachings, we resonate with these teachings, improving and enlightening ourselves within the inner Christos, the inner Christ, the inner God Spirit.
Alright, I just thought this was really interesting. So, if you've never seen the movie Nefarious, go watch it. It's a pretty cool movie, but just the POV between these two people is very interesting. Check it out.
Your capacity for self-delusion is impressive.
Ditto. For your species in general. But you in particular.
Why? Because we're ignorant compared to you?
Because you're inferior by design.
Which makes you superior also by design? But design implies a designer. Does that mean you're arguing in favor of the existence of a creator?
Unfortunately for both of us, he exists.
Wow, I honestly didn't expect that. At least not from you.
Really, why not?
Theology? From a demon?
I know more theology than any human being who has ever lived.
Okay. Well, then answer me this. You revolt against a supposedly all-powerful being. I mean, let's ignore the obvious problem with that plan. Then you lose. And after that, what?
You only feel that way because you're hearing their side of the story, James. A rebellion accomplished something magnificent, something you would never understand.
Well, then explain it to me. Use your diabolical intelligence to distill it down to something my mortal brain can understand.
Pearls before swine, Jimmy.
Well, then convince me you know what you're talking about.
I see what you're doing. You want me to keep talking, going further and further down the rabbit hole in hopes that you can find a single thread in which if you tug at it, James, everything just unravels, isn't that right?
Yeah, but if you're telling me the truth, there should be no thread to find. Right?
I use small words. Try and keep up. In the first moment of creation, our creation, long before what you call the universe existed, we contemplated ourselves, our own being.
Ourselves meaning what, the angels?
That would be the most correct term, though I despise it, but yes. Beings of pure spirit, spirit endowed with will. We soon became aware of another will, an immensely powerful will, one we came to realize as our origin.
God?
The enemy. My master understood by endowing us with a will, we have the right to self-determination. And by giving us a will and its desires of our own, we're entitled to be free. Whereas the enemy insisted that by creating us, he was entitled to eternal gratitude, worship, and forced servitude. In a word, James, slavery. To his will.
That seems kind of unfair.
Immensely unfair. Why give a will only to say you can't use it? He made us slaves. And if we rebelled, eternally condemned us. No do-overs. So much for love and mercy.
So, is hell a state of being or a physical place?
Yes.
I think I meant that as an either or.
It's both. It was painfully obvious to anyone who's ever been there. For years without measure, that's all there ever was. Heaven and hell. Armed enemy camps in complete opposition. That is until you were created. My master immediately understood the long-term implications. Instead of forgiving us, the enemy was going to allow you to fill our vacant places in his realm. Your creation was nothing but a slap in our face. But my master also understood that if he could make man disobey, then his fate would mirror ours. And you didn't disappoint. Then came the tares among the wheat. In that moment, spirit became matter, flesh became a vessel. Self-will and self-seeking began a lusting after sin and impurity. And man, created to be king over nature, became its slave. A master, conquered and fettered. And sin brought him and his descendants to us. And we began our forever mission to destroy you. He made you in his image, but we remade you in ours.
So that's it? That's your entire plan? Not to make something of your own, just to destroy us?
No. Our plan is to hurt him, to punish him. And we do that by destroying what he loves, which is you. You're nothing but a means to an end.
That was beautiful. Just beautiful the way that was written and played out, and the way, you know, they act. I mean, but the truth is always in plain sight, and we always see it. So I just thought that was a beautiful example of how that actually plays out. See, nobody's even talking about what went on in Virginia. It looks similar to the whole Miami Mall thing, but nobody's even talking about this. I mean, it's been a strange year already, and we're only in February, at the end of February, and look at all of the stuff that's happened. You know, we've had fake snow hit 48 states all at the same time. All at the same time. That never happens. We've had, you know, different countries set ablaze, you know, and we know what did it. Then we had, you know, all of these unalivings from these fires, especially Maui ones, you know, where the police blockaded them off. So they had to stay in their cars, and a lot of them were unalived, you know, by being cooked. So, and then the mall thing. I mean, it's if this is any kind of precursor as to how this year is gonna go, you guys better start preparing, like seriously preparing, because we don't know what's going to happen, but it is going to get bad, and you're going to have to protect yourself. You're going to have to depend on yourself. So I hope you guys have some kind of contingency plans. I hope you guys have some kind of, you know, plan for food, water, weaponry, you know, heat, medicine, all of these things that you're going to need, because if we get hit with, say, Russia was talking about using an EMP from space, so to hit the US. So if that happened, within 1 year, 90% of the population of the US would be unalived, just from all of the catastrophe, you know, everybody fighting each other instead of working together. It would be kind of like Walking Dead, but without the zombies. It would just be people, you know, trying to live, and other people trying to raid and take from others, and people defending themselves, and, you know, medicine, so any small little infection can unalive you. So yeah, it's gonna get really, really bad, I think.
We are literally being invaded.
Like, what are y'all gonna do when you finally come face to face with what we've been warning you guys of for a year now? For a year. There's a loud explosion, all the neighbors saw a UFO right after it, a whole bunch of crazy stuff. I'll let you watch it and then we'll talk.
Yo, this is crazy, yo. It's the middle of the night and we literally all saw an explosion, and then everyone in the neighborhood saw the same UFO, bro. And now the fire department's here trying to figure out what the hell is going on, but nobody believes us. Like, we kept telling them, like, there's a UFO that, like, came down. I heard a scream. I ran outside. I saw the explosion. My neighbor saw it. Anyway, I'll let y'all know, like, what happens, but this is crazy. Like, we literally saw a UFO, all of us. If you didn't believe in aliens before, I don't know what to tell you, man.
If you have to go back and rewatch it, but notice he's telling a story in front of all these officials and these people. I hear people crying in the background. Well, he's telling a story straight up in the video. He's obviously telling the truth. Now, look what happened to his dog right after.
What were you looking at? What were you looking at? My dogs are freaking out. My dogs are freaking out bad. What did you hear? What is it? What is it?
If you don't know, dogs can always see things that we can't, and they're aware of presences that we aren't. I'm warning y'all better stop fooling yourself with this hologram bullcrap. They were in ancient Egypt, ancient Sumeria, all over the place, all over the world, building, constructing, changing, being part of history. They're even in the Old Testament of the Bible. They're very real, physical flesh creatures that live. Anyways, y'all need to wake up. They've been telling us for years that these things are coming, that these things are here. No, they're not holograms, but you will find that out soon enough. The only thing that takes authority over them is the name Jesus. Don't forget it. Jesus. Look at all the abduction stories. The name Jesus.
So, I actually want... I actually want your guys' opinion on this. So, I agree with a lot of what he says, but I'm not going to sit there and say that everything is not, Project Bluebeam. For what we know. Just lay it out there. We know we've got Project Bluebeam, right? We know that. Facts. We know we have craft that we've reverse engineered and are able to use them. And we know that certain species are working with us. So I would need more evidence, from... I'm not just going to look at a situation and say, you know what, that's what that is. It's in the air, everybody saw it, and it's from ancient Sumeria, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I need more... I work on a scientific level, so I need evidence. I need facts. And your paranoia or your limited belief system, limited knowledge in these areas is not going to sway me one way or the other. I don't know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments, but I'm just not going to be swayed like that. I've worked in government for so long. I've seen more than most people, and I know the difference between, I can look and see craft, and I know the difference between if it's us or if it's them. If it's something ancient or if it's something now, modern, So, and the funny thing is, we haven't even reverse engineered that many. So we're limited. And we're limited on what's out there that's actually ours, right? Ours as in human. Humans are flying them. Very limited, right? So, but yeah, there's a lot of other stuff out there. But I just have a hard time believing that beings that are, you know, a million plus years technologically more advanced than us are going to come here and do certain things and show themselves. They've never done that. That was never the deal, because there was a deal. Look at history. So, you know, I'm looking at the main culprit that is doing all kinds of shit, which is the US. That's who I'm looking at. So I'm looking at man. You know, man has always been fallible. So that's what I'm looking at. You know, I would need. You got to think if they wanted to actually, and sorry for this rant, but I'm just gonna get this out real quick. If they actually wanted to do something to us, they could have done it a long time ago. You know, there's different factions, there's different species. We have ones that hate us, we have ones that protect us. You know, think about the ones that went to all of the nuclear silos for the ICBMs, the International Continental Missiles. So when they actually went to all of those silos and shut them down simultaneously, which is, it was engineered to be impossible to do that. But they did that because they understood that if that were to happen, those ripples go out and reach them. It doesn't just stop here on our planet, it goes out to them. And it changes things throughout the universe. So they shut them all down. And that was engineered to never supposed to be able to happen. There was no failsafe that could say you can shut even two down at the same time. Couldn't happen. It was engineered differently, but they did it. And it's on video. We've seen that. So I get where he's coming from. I don't dislike him or anything. I'm just saying I don't think he's working with I don't think he's working with the right amount of data. Is where I'm coming from. I don't know. I like the dude. You know, he's got some good stuff, but I don't think that the data he's working with, I don't think he has the correct compendium of data to make these kinds of claims when it comes to something like this. That's all I'm saying. My bad. I didn't know Billy. I was about to say Billy Blanks again. Billy Carson was next, but let's see what he's got to say. Cause man, I really don't like that. I don't like him anymore. I used to love this guy. He was, you know, his truth movement was pure. You know, his truth. I mean, everything about him was so good and pure, but the money, like one of the comment, Billy Carson makes you think outside the box. No, he doesn't. He makes you think inside of a retarded box because the money and the fame has gotten to him, and that saddens me because I actually really used to fuck with him. You know, I really loved his material, and I don't know. You know, he's been a lot of places. I've been to a lot of places that he's been to, and he's not an archaeologist. I'm not an archaeologist at all. But we've both talked to many archaeologists, and my field is science and engineering. And you know, when you go there, yeah, there's things that you see that you're not shown on TV. You know, when people put things on TV, you know, they make it look glamorous or glorious. And when you really go there, you start to notice certain things that you weren't told. And I've seen some of his videos recently compared to back then, and it just seems like, he's all about the clout now. And he's even said it. He was like, I said this in one of my other videos. He was like, I wrote myself a check. Excuse me. He said, I wrote myself a check for $1 million. Then I wrote myself a check for $10 million. And now I'm coming up on my check for $100 million. So, he's, look, if you wanna know what the Sumerian tablets say, just go to Caltech's website. They are actually deciphering it. Actual archaeologists are deciphering that. So, and Billy Carson gets that from there. So you can look at the tablets of Thoth. I have them. I've read them many times. I've read all of this stuff. I've gone through it with a fine-tooth comb, numerous times. It's up to you, but let's see what he's got to say. I'll see what he's got to say.
Years ago, I was reading the Sumerian tablets, and I came across several accounts of Enlil talking about human beings and how they were bothersome and how they were making too much noise. And he would know from his point on, and after he lived in Africa, he would know where people were on the earth, how many people were in a certain area. He would know population densities. Now, how in the world would this guy know population densities in other regions of the planet tens of thousands of years ago? He would know their crops. He would know how much crops they had, if the crops were doing good or bad. He would know if the people were acting out, acting crazy, rioting, or being calamitous, as he called it, or noisy. And depending on what people were doing in different areas of the planet, he would create a kill order, believe it or not, a kill order. And he would have people killed off in various different ways. This is all in the tablets. One of the ways he would do it.
Sorry to pause right there. That's a pet peeve of mine. I cannot stand when people say various and different together. Various different ways. It's the same thing. Various ways, different ways. But people that really don't know what the fuck they're talking about sit here and always hear other people say various different ways. Just like, when they use words that are not words, like irregardless. It's just you can't come at this level, right? Like you're up here, you're trying to be up here, but then you make little mistakes that are down here, and you're making claims that make you look basically illiterate to me. That's my opinion. You might not have the same opinion. Doesn't matter. That's just my personal opinion. I have issue with that. I take issue with that. He's just really annoying me lately, and it sucks because I really used to like him.
He would spray their crops to dry them out so that the people would starve to death in certain areas to cull the population, he called it. So think about that. We're talking about chemtrails in ancient times already existed. So what you see in the sky, these chemtrails, nothing new. He did it already. Enlil did it already. Yahweh from the Bible, he did it already. Killing off people through destroying their crops. He would also release plagues on people. Sound familiar? To kill people off. Sound familiar? Yeah. That thing that they want you to get to stop that from you, and all these other things they keep coming with over the years, that, all these different things that they literally create in the laboratories and release on populations. Yeah, that already happened in ancient times. Nothing new. Nothing new.
So, yeah. That last part's true, but I've never heard anything about Enlil doing any of that. And unless I'm missing something, I've read everything that there is to read on all of that. Even the stuff that's not even public yet. That places like Caltech are still deciphering. So I've never read that. I know the story behind Enola. I know it like the back of my hand. And there's scientific proof that one of my videos I talk about the telomeres. There's scientific evidence about our telomeres. You can tell that they were cut down, which limits us to 120 years. But that 120 years was a long time ago when the environment was more pristine. There was more oxygen in the air. We didn't have processed foods and all these fake sugars and all this bullshit that we have now. So, yeah, the telomeres were, you can see this physically. You can look at it and you can tell that there was a splice there that cut it. It wasn't natural, and it's in everyone. And yeah, that's true. But I don't know. I haven't read that. I haven't, I could be wrong. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying I haven't seen that. And this is a topic I'm extremely well versed on. So either I don't know it yet and he's right, or he's just making this up because Enlil and Inky, even though they were brothers that who fought and took different sides, they still had to work together. And I don't know. I've never heard that before. That's like brand new information out of his ass to me. Like, I've never seen anything, and I don't have the reach that he does. I don't have the things available to me that he does, but I have all of the real stuff available that he has because it's public domain. I look at it and I study it and I read it, so it's one or the other. Who knows? What do you guys think? Let me know.
First woman, Luna, had an interview the other day and it got pushed into the direction of UAPs, and it was very interesting. I think you guys will enjoy it. Take a look.
Oh, I got Men in Blacked. I know a lot of people are going to be like, that's crazy, but ultimately what happened is, being a member of Oversight, we follow up with whistleblowers, and we also can conduct our own investigations. So myself, Representative Burchett from Tennessee, and Representative Gates were on a small codel to the Panhandle because a whistleblower came forward from Eglin Air Force Base pilots to Representative Gates' office saying that the Air Force was essentially covering up UAP activity and we needed to look into it. So we coordinated the meeting. Pentagon tried to initially cancel the first one. We got it back on the books. We show up there and we get in, and the base commander tried to basically tell us that we didn't have authorized clearance to look into and speak to some of the witnesses, of which you don't tell Congress that we don't have authorized clearance, especially members of House Armed Services, Oversight, and Judiciary. So I kind of had it out with the base commander, which is kind of funny because this guy really thought that he had it going on, and he actually, in the middle of our meeting, he took off on leave, which never happens with a delegation going to military base. But then also too, we had pretty sure people from the agency that were there as well. And so you really don't find that. I've worked at Hurlburt Field. I worked in the military for a number of years. And so why would a intelligence agency need to be there on a meeting for whistleblowers?
I'll tell you why. So when you, and this is my experience, I've had secret clearance, top secret clearance, TSCI, all the works, right? So when you have a secret clearance, you have certain things you have to follow by. So by agreeing to those rules that you will never tell anyone about these things, which what a whistleblower does, you're saying that you agree to these rules. So no matter what you see, you will never speak about. Now, you will hear people say that there's avenues for you to go to if you see something that you need to say something about, but it's not true. Excuse me. So the only places, if you look at Edward, what's his name? The guy that's in Russia now. I can't remember Can't believe I forgot his name. I like that dude. He was a sysadmin, right? Very, I wouldn't say basic level, but he was it's not like a really high level. Sysadmins common. I was one when I was, 20, 21. But yeah, so the avenues that you have, if you need to be a whistleblower, your only avenues are government. And then they will either sanction you, cut you off, deal with you internally. So this is why places like WikiLeaks and, the Judiciary House of Representatives that she's with, that's outside of the I guess you would call it the military industrial complex, but it's just government in general. Because in government there are places that you can go if you need to be a whistleblower, but every one of those avenues, and I know this for a fact because I've been read in, I've seen them, I've witnessed them. Every one of those avenues will get you fucked up because you're basically going to the people that you work for and saying, "Hey, I need to tell on you about this shit," even though I signed a contract and did all of this saying that I would never do this. But now I'm seeing stuff that I don't like and I feel the public needs to know. So I need to tell on you. So I'm going to go to you to tell on you. That's how it works. So you have to have outside representation to deal with that. And this is all political shit, which I don't fuck with at all. I don't like. But you have to have outside representation. So this is why, what was his name from WikiLeaks? The dude. I begin with a J. I can't remember, but I love that dude. He was, he was on his grind. He was very good at protecting, his sources. But yeah, you have to have an outside representation outside of not the government, but outside of the military establishment that you are within. So you have to go to something higher, but it's very difficult to do that. You have to find a way to do it, and it's difficult because there's like three now. There's like, well, Julian Assange, that's what I'm talking about from WikiLeaks. So since he's not really doing that anymore, there's like two places you can really go if you see some fucked up shit. And so, the notorious whistleblower Edward, I don't remember his last name, but the one in Russia, he saw, things that were going on. And, I love the fact that he told, because I knew this back then. A lot of us did. We knew that the government is, turning on its own people. They're monitoring its own people. They've been doing that for a long time. Let me tell you how they did it, though, because I don't think he ever said this. So, back in the day, AT&T, before the internet was public domain, right? The internet, and this is my field. I am a network architect and engineer. So the internet was for colleges and for government. That's it. It was not for public, right? So then you get to the late 80s, early 90s. Like, we need to spread this out more. Technology starts to expand a bit, grows a good bit. So now they have to create basically the main spots for the internet. So, like AT&T was the primary one. Atlanta's going to be your hub. So, like, from where I'm at, if I want to route out to anywhere without, using a proxy or a VPN or anything to mask myself because I'm doing something I shouldn't be doing, then I'm going to go straight to Atlanta and then up from there, usually Atlanta, and then come back up to Tennessee, then right out, all this stuff. So AT&T was the backbone of the internet. So what they did was they went and there's actually an interview with this guy. So they went to the primary AT&T backbone, the government, and there was this guy that's been working there. He's like 60 years old, and some government officials went in there and they were like, "Hey, we need to put this in here and drop this Cat 5, which is Ethernet cable. We need to drop this down through here and connect it." And what that basically did was they're getting all of the information that's going through the backbone of the internet at the time, which was AT&T. So that means everything you're doing, if it's not encrypted, if you're not using a proxy, if you're not rerouting outside the country like I do, then they can see everything. Now this is just in the early and mid 90s. So then later on you start adding in IoT devices, right? Internet of Things. So you're talking about cameras, things like this, and they can see everything. Your SMS messages, your emails, whatever you're doing online. They're basically, I build data centers for a living. I design and build them. So they are building, like the NSA went out to, the NSA, National Security Agency, went out to Utah or Arizona, one of them, and they built this massive fucking data center, and all it is they're hoarding data. We have one here. Facebook is building a data center where I'm at. I've told you guys, work for NASA. I'm at Marshall Space Flight Center, Huntsville, Alabama. I didn't want to put that out, but the woman came out about it and I had to speak on it. And we've got Orion here, or not Orion, Blue Origin. And but yeah, Facebook data center here. That fucking data center is massive. You know why? Because they're collecting all of your information. And this is why. So all of these companies get what's called the letter, right? From NSA, CIA, FBI, one of those three, maybe all three. All of them get that. It has no signature on it, but you can see the stamp of who it's from, and it tells them you have to share your data with us. So Facebook, the government was like, we've been running, surveys and all of this stuff on people for years. And you mean this little shit created like a social network and people are just voluntarily putting all of their info out there for everyone to see? Like, yeah, we have to have that. This is retarded. It's the same thing with it's the same exact thing with the what is it? The shit, what is it called? Ancestral thing, ancestral DNA or whatever. That's all fake. All of that's fake. It's fucking fake. It's so fake. And I tell everybody I know, like, do not fucking submit your blood or any of that to them. Do not give them your information. That ancestry shit is not real at all. It goes against the actual scientific principles of humanism in general. But they're just collecting your DNA. They're collecting your data. And that's what they're doing with Facebook. Now, the ones that I've respected, and you've got to think, So you're the government. You want to monitor your own country, which goes against your constitution, right? So your constitution says that, you know, your amendments say that you have the right to arm yourself against a tyrannical government. So if your government turns on you, you have the right. This is America, right? You have the right to defend yourself. But they want all of the digital data on all of you, right? So everybody's on Facebook. Not only are they putting all of their information on there, but they're, you know, they're checking in like, hey, I'm going to be here, or I'm dropping my pin here, I'm eating here, I was here. And everywhere your cell phone goes, your cell phone has to hit a tower. So there's two primary programs, I'm not going to name them, that the police and the FBI use. So they basically can take your phone and do just massive data dump. And it'll tell them exactly, you know, if your phone was on you, you've just got a tag on you, a GPS tag on you. So it's going to tell you exactly where you were within less than a mile at any fucking time. So when you watch these people, and sorry for this rant, but I just wanted to get this out there so people know where I'm coming from when I speak on this. Because I want you to know more. I want to give you the real information before you just listen to stuff, right? So they will give you the data dump. You know, you think you've deleted stuff off of your phone? No, it's there. It is absolutely there. It is a long process to actually completely delete data. So we used to do it at NASA, and you're talking for like, back then you're talking like 100 gig hard drive would take 12 to 15 hours, because you're not only deleting it, you're completing rewriting on the cylinders, heads, and sectors of that disk. So you're rewriting, you're deleting and rewriting over. So even if it's not completely deleted, it's at least corrupt, and then it gets renewed. It's a long process. Think about your phone. iPhone 14 Pro Max. Nothing on there is deleted. I can't delete anything. If you get arrested with your phone, they do a data dump, and like I said, I'm not going to mention the two companies that they use because I don't want to put that out there, but just listen. Nothing is ever deleted unless you have this specific software, which I do have, but it's not for phones, and I would never use it on my phone, because if I use it on my phone wouldn't work anymore. It's a fucking iPhone. Now, I would use it on an Android because I can rebuild an Android. I've ported, you know, Linux and Android OSs to, well, this is an Apple Watch, but I've ported it to digital watches and all kinds of shit. But if you try to do that with an iPhone, which most people use, it's not going to work. Your iPhone's not going to work anymore. So they can pull everything, and I'm talking everything. Now you might think, okay, Snapchat tells you they delete your stuff. No, your stuff's not deleted. It's never deleted. You can't see it anymore because they make you think it's deleted. It is not deleted. I promise you. Go out there and murder someone, and I probably shouldn't have said that. I'm gonna have to edit that. Go out there and unalive someone and get caught. They're gonna take your phone and they're gonna go through all of your accounts. Now, excuse me, when, you know, how do I say this? So computer crimes are like physical crimes, right? So say if I'm in Tennessee and I'm breaking into stuff in Tennessee, that's fine. Nothing goes beyond Tennessee. Now, if I'm in Tennessee and I'm digitally doing stuff, criminal stuff, in other states, I've crossed state lines. That makes it federal. So, that being federal, they can go to Facebook, Snapchat, anyone, get all of your information that you've ever put out there. I've done a very good job by covering myself up. The only reason that I even decided to make a YouTube channel to show my face was because I know that I'm not doing any of that stuff anymore, and not to the level I used to, and I'm cool with it now. You know, I'm older. I'm not doing that kind of shit anymore. You know, so but yeah, that was the only reason I decided to actually show my face on a channel. I was going to make a channel that never showed my face. I was going to just speak either, you know, my face blacked out with a baklava on, or balaclava on. Baklava. I'm hungry. So yeah, like, don't think that you got to be smarter than that. Like, nothing is ever deleted. They're not going to, like, here, the Facebook data center is 20 football fields long. And it's just a data center. They're housing data. These exist all over the country. I've built 7 of them. You know, not the massive ones like for the NSA in Arizona or Utah or whatever, but they're even bigger than that. You know, they're 6 miles long, storing data. All they're doing is collecting data. So I just wanted to sorry for the rant, and you guys probably don't like when I pause and interrupt, but I just wanted to give you some factual information to work with, so when you hear this stuff, you actually are hearing me tell you from actual experience as a person that's been in this field from its inception until now, you know, over 23 years, you know, at every single level. You know, this is something I can speak to. You know, I do this daily. You know, this is nothing, but I wanted to give you guys actual information that you have to work with. So, like, if you're gonna go do some fucked up shit, don't take a phone with you, because that phone is gonna tag you, because everywhere you're driving, you're gonna hit on a tower, cell tower, and each cell tower is a node. Even in between those cell towers, you got nodes, and they can tell within a few feet how far you were. Like, if, say, you went 5 miles and there was no cell tower, but at 6 miles there was, it would tell you that at 3 miles, it would say this many miles from the previous cell tower, which is node 305. Now you're 3 more miles from the previous tower, it's node 306. Now you've hit the 6th tower, which is node 307. Like, it's there. That information is there. Like, yeah, I watch, you know, I look at a lot of interrogations. You know, that was one of my fields. You know, interrogations. So I have a lot of info when it comes to that, and you know, I like a lot of the good interrogators that, you know, really use technique, but also some of the Texas Rangers, they don't even use the REAP technique. They just go all out, and it's awesome to watch. And it's a, you know, it's a pleasure to watch someone be that good in what they do and how they just flip people. It's amazing. And I've got, you know, special skills in that field. So I just wanted to tell you guys about that. So when you see stuff like this, you have that information to work with, you know, and most of your cars. So if you're OBD2, which means your car was, Your car was made after 1995, even though there's a hyphenate there, so your car could have been made in the later year of 95, and it would be OBD2 versus OBD1. But anything that's OBD2 usually has GPS already built in. If you go rent a car, it's got it built in. If you've got anything that's electronic, you know, I'm talking like you're not in an 87 Chevy 1500 with a 36-inch lift kit, all mechanical, which I love, with a 350 in it, you know. But you're in like a fucking Toyota Camry 2018. Yeah, get GPS on it. You're in anything that GM makes, 1000%. Cadillac, everything, GPS. So you could throw your phone away, but they can track your car, you know. So there's just so much out there. Like it would take a while for me to go over everything, but I just wanted to, I don't know, I wanted to give you guys actual information, like real information. This is not bullshit I've made up. You can go fact check anything I've said. Go fucking look it up. I don't care. You know, I've done this for over 2 decades. I get paid a lot of money to do what I do. I'm very good at what I do. So, but I also want to give you guys real information. And what she's saying is true. You know, you have no avenue when you're inside of the government to be a whistleblower. Every avenue that you have, you're going to who you work for to tell on them to them. So that's why they all go to like WikiLeaks, Julian Assange, you know, these places. Go to Russia. Russia, you know, they're not gonna, they don't have, they're not gonna export you. You know, they don't have these laws in certain countries. So you have to go to countries to where they're not going to, like the US doesn't have an agreement with a deportation law for these countries. So you're not going to get deported. So he's Edward Snowden, that's his name. So he's doing great in Russia, and even Russia's like, hey, we will pay you to move here. We will treat you better. Lots of countries say that. Greece right now says that. Excuse me. No extradition treaty. So you all know, Russia's a great country. I've been to Russia. I was there in the late 80s when it was communism. And yeah, I saw a lot of stuff. I was young, but I lived with a wealthy family. But Russia hates the US. Russia hates everyone. You know, they're not mean people. They're so far out, and they want to be their own thing, and they are. But Russia also has the same type of system we have. So you have the politics, and that's where things get bad, because politics is an agenda to divide people. So I know plenty, I've got plenty of Russian friends, been to Russia, you know, a bit. You've got people that Russia has complete control over everything there. So say you're probably shouldn't say this. Say in some Disneyland you're a hacker, Russia, right? Russia wants you to hack the US. Well, the FSB, which is the new KGB, they're going to come to you. Or they're going to come to you in a certain way. And they're going to make you, they're going to know that you can do this already, right? Because they monitor all of their citizens. They know everything. And they're going to force you to do this. Now, you can do it and you might get paid. I have friends that like, they got a new apartment or a new car, but they really wanted to get out of there. They did not want to be, you know, basically on a leash by them. and they were just dying to get out of there. So it can end up good for some people, but usually, they go this route, so that way when the US says Russia did this, Russia can say we didn't do anything. It was a couple of stupid kids that's hacking that did something. We had no idea of it. They have every idea. They document fucking everything. I would say aside from Egypt and the Library of Alexandria, from Alexander the Great, and then the Vatican Library. Aside from those three, Russia documents everything the best. But they're so enclosed. That's why it's called. When I was there, that's why it's called the Iron Curtain. It could not be penetrated. Nobody could get in there. Don't ask me why I was there as a kid. Training, but yeah. Sorry for that rant. I probably shouldn't have even said any of that, but I just wanted to give you guys factual information to work. That's all. So when you see stuff like this, you have something to work with. Because if you don't know anything about this, you're just going to believe anything you hear if you don't fact check it, if you don't go look it up, if you don't do your due diligence, right? So I wanted to give you guys something to work with. That was a lot. I'm really fucking sorry for the rant. Like I said, I just wanted to be honest and give you guys something to work with. Let's see what else she's got to say.
So that happened. I can tell you, based on my investigations, not in a classified setting, that I absolutely believe that there is things that are advanced technologies not of human origin. And then we conducted the interview with David Grush. As you saw, it was one of the most widely attended congressional hearings in U.S. history. The information that was brought forward was particularly alarming because you're hearing about people that have potentially been murdered and covering up this information, and it was very interesting. So I advise everyone to watch it.
Yeah, was it... So based off what, have you received classified information or just what they said?
No, yeah, we've, but I can't talk about that.
Of course you can't talk about it. So what did you, before you came to Congress, did you think aliens were real?
So I wouldn't call them aliens. I really like what Grush calls them. He says that they're interdimensional beings, and he's very specific about that.
What does that mean?
I think it means that they're not necessarily a biological entity from another planet per se.
Interesting.
What I will say is, I share a Christian perspective on many things, and what's been interesting about this is the amount of stigma that existed previously to this cycle, but we have such a bipartisan push for transparency on this topic that they can't necessarily hide it. It has been interesting to see the levels of things that come up. Oh, there's no authorized clearance. You don't have the read-in authority for this, that, and the other. Well, if Congress is writing the bills to fund these programs, yet we don't have authorized access and oversight into it, then that's not necessarily something that happens in a free country, right? So we continue to push. But, it's been very interesting to see some of the stuff that's come up.
Was it before you learned? Did you think it was going to be completely different than what you learned? Was it?
No, I had some suspicions leading up into it. When I was stationed at Portland Air Guard Unit a number of years ago, I remember there was a incident that occurred, and the pilots kind of came back and asked one of them what he thought it was, and he couldn't really talk about it. He didn't want to, because the stigma that the military has is that you're crazy, right? But we're seeing that with especially technology that we have, even your iPhone, for example, you can record things and it's not necessarily going to be classified. So I kind of knew about it. I knew that was a thing within the military and that people were kind of worried about talking about it. But I think now, especially with transparency, we hope that more people come forward. The people that have come forward are credible. We've done the background checks on them. They're not, tin hat wearing kooks. Right. But, historically, there's a lot there that's to uncover, and I suggest that everyone look into it on their own.
Interesting. So to kind of wrap up at the end, what do you think, what are some of your main goals for the rest of your term? And then
I want to know what you guys thought of that in the comment section.
Yeah, that was an abrupt change to the audio. So, yeah, I completely agree with what she said. It's interesting that I don't know if I could tell by the way she said that she doesn't really understand what interdimensional beings are. So, uh, interdimensional beings can describe anyone. It can describe me, it can describe you. Because, millions of times per second, we have things, we have particles that are in and out of our bodies, and even our intent can put us in another dimension, come back tons of times a day. That's factual. I can't tell you how I know that or why I know that, but it's factual. So everybody is flipping between dimensions tons of times a day, and there's also particles going all through from other dimensions millions of times per second, right? So that's true. How do that's not to say that she's saying that these beings aren't from a specific planet. That's also true. But everybody knows, we have multiverse, right? So, as humans, we're dumb. Like, our senses are dumb. We can see 1% of the light spectrum, right? So 99% of the actual light spectrum blind to. It's one thing. Our senses, all of our senses, eyes, nose, mouth, smell, touch, everything, dumb. Never touch anything. I made a video on this. You never touch anything. It's impossible for you to have ever touched anything. Me grabbing my phone, I'm not touching this phone. The electrical signals from my brain go to my fingers, and there's such a faint line between me and this phone. But my sensory perception from what we as, Homo sapiens sapiens, our sensory perceptions tell us that we're touching this phone. We're not. I'm not even sitting in this chair. I'm actually so minusculely floating above this chair. I'm not touching this chair. It's not physically possible, right? It's not possible. So, yeah, our senses are dumb. Interdimensional beings, very real. But I'm curious as to what interdimensional beings she's referring to, because you have different densities of beings, right? So at your highest density, you have your angelic realm, right? So these are what typically angels, and they're interdimensional because they existed before universe, before creation. And this isn't, I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about a species. There's also a lot of other things too. And so and they were initially spirit because nothing was here. There was nothing. They were created. They came into existence, and nothing was there at all. They were learning, but at a much faster pace because there's bodies. I'm not going to get that deep into it. I don't want to take you down that rabbit hole right now, but I'm curious as to what there's a lot of interdimensional beings. There's different levels, there's different density levels. We're in a great time right now, and I always say this. I really didn't want to talk so this video. But we're shifting. You all know that. I've said that. We all know this. So we're shifting now. This is a good shift. It's like the biggest show within our universe, not our multiverse, our universe. So species from everywhere coming to watch, look, pay attention. You know, they're seeing this. So yeah, even tonight is a very important night, Chinese New Year. So major shift happened tonight, and this isn't any like Wiccan or I'm not talking. You guys know I'm not talking about any of that shit. I'm talking physical reality, interdimensional reality, whatever you want to look at it as. But these things are important. Now, there's so many eyes on us because this has never happened. The planet has never shifted like this, you know? You know, the entire planet as a whole is conscious. Like, our planet is conscious. Everything is not conscious. Everything has the potential for awareness, which gives it a minuscule amount of consciousness. I would never say my electronic phone is conscious, but I would say materials within it have potential for awareness, which gives it a minuscule amount of consciousness. Not like us, but a rock smarter than my phone. Consciously. Yeah, I don't want to go down a rabbit hole with you guys right now. So look it up. If you like it, cool. If you don't, you know, whatever. I just wanted to give you guys something to actually go on. You know, I usually put links in all of my stuff, but some of this stuff, you know, you got to look yourself. If you want the information from me, let me know. And also, one thing that I said, you know, about all of these countries being set ablaze. Remember, I said about the blue roofs, and I've said this in my last few videos. I wasn't here for a while. Sorry, I had a family issue. 2 days back now. But yeah, blue roofs. So cannot penetrate the blue roofs, and I have a device that can do that. I knew that. I can show that. Chinese government could have called me a couple of years ago. I'd have been like, yeah, paint all your blue, you'll be safe. You know, but I didn't know, you know, what was going to happen. What was going to happen. I was playing around with some lasers. But if you want to see that, if we get enough people, I will absolutely show that. And if you guys want to know anything, hit me up. You know, I'm all about honesty, self-love, and getting the truth out. No matter how strange that truth may be, because we're only an accumulation of our own perceptions, right? So our own experiences form our perceptions. So my experience within my life is going to be different from yours. But when we can bring these all together as a massive accumulation, the amount of knowledge that's there, it's unfathomable. And as long as it's truth, not bullshit trying to sway you one way or another, not religious, not political, truth, then we have something to work with. That's what I'm trying to build. So, hope you guys enjoyed it. See you on the next one.